Hey everybody, Katherine Reay here on behalf of the 10-Minute Book Talk, and we have a treat for you today. I am joined by my hosts, Rachel Linden and Marie Bostwick, and today we have Brittany Butler, and she is sharing with us both her experiences and her novel, which is amazing, by the way, The Syndicate Spy. So, Brittany, welcome. We are so thrilled to have you here.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Yes. So the Syndicate Spy focuses on two female spies that are navigating the end of a global energy crisis. So you've got two different spies from two different, really different backgrounds. You've got Mariam al-Assad, who is this kind of like Saudi princess that she's all about women's rights in the Middle East. And she has to navigate, okay, how do I leave my family and my background kind of behind and try to move forward women's rights in the Middle East. And so she's doing that. And then you've got Juliet Airway, who is my heroine, and she's struggling to end an energy war that cost her father his life. And then you've also got a romantic interest named Graham, and Graham is also struggling with something that a lot of spies kind of struggle with, which is the moral dilemmas in espionage. And how does he leave his past behind and overcome getting a source burned because of his careless spycraft? So I was really excited to take on this book because I feel like there are not a lot of spy stories out there besides yours, of course, Katherine, which I absolutely loved, that focus on women and intelligence.
Yeah.
You know, there's been a lot written about the James Bonds and the Jason Bournes of espionage, but where are the females? Where are their stories? And I would argue that for women, it's actually a lot more difficult to do the work of spies, because oftentimes you are not seen as a male's equal in a lot of the different regions of the world that you have to navigate in order to do espionage. So I was really excited to take this on and to break into what I think is a very male dominated genre and get the female voice out there.
Well,
Oh,
and
love that.
you
Did
know,
it. Did
and
great.
and this is what is extra fun about this wonderful book. So I get to ask the best question today, the most funnest question. So Brittany,
Yeah.
it's possible that you may have some unique life experiences which give you particular insights into being able to write about this world. Tell us a little bit about that. What makes you uniquely qualified to write this book?
Yeah, so I spent 10 years at the CIA. I was a targeting officer. I was recruited directly out of college to be a case officer, which is the kind of handling officer for our spies abroad. So from there, I decided to be a targeting officer, which is like a hybrid position between Langley at CIA headquarters in Virginia and deploy overseas. So I spent the majority of my career supporting our counterterrorism mission, and that took me to places all over the Middle East and Europe, running and recruiting spies and helping to operationalize a lot of the intelligence we were getting from our sources and turn that into what we call operational leads. And those operational leads can be anything from recruiting the next source that's going to give us information on a terrorist network or a foreign government to information that helps us to target a bad guy. So yeah, I'm really fortunate to have had that experience and be able to incorporate that in my novel.
So fun to bring all of that to the table. So anyway, I'm excited about that.
That's
Me
just
too.
amazing. And so you weren't just researching about spies, you were actually like in the midst of it, which is phenomenal. When
Yeah.
you went, so I'm super curious about this. When you went to write this fictional story, how was that experience for you to take all of your real life experience and put it into fiction? Was it difficult? What surprised you? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's such a great question because I really grappled with, okay, do I write something in the, right now, like it's set in the current time, or do I write something in the past? I've read a lot of wonderful historical fiction about female spies during World War II. There's a lot of great books out there, like The Nightingale, Alice Network. I just absolutely love those books as well. But I felt like it would be really cool to write about women that have been involved in counterterrorism operations, because women have really been on the forefront of that line of work ever since 9/11. And I'm kind of the generation of well, I'm not young anymore, but I used to be a generation of young people
Young.
that were kind of brought in right after 9/11 and trained to do that work. So I really wanted to tell that story about the women that have been involved in espionage ever since 9/11. And so this story really enabled me to do that, but I wanted to do it in a fictional way. I didn't want to get drawn into any kind of arguments about, should we have gone to Iraq? Should we have left Afghanistan? I wanted to create a fictional war, excuse me, because I wanted to focus on the meat of what I think is really interesting about espionage work, which is the moral dilemmas of espionage, which is like you're running sources for information. You are asking these individuals to risk their lives and to penetrate terrorist networks and foreign governments. And they're doing this for our country, not for their own oftentimes. And it can be very difficult to navigate those kind of situations. And I believe that, it's interesting to kind of talk about that in my book. You really dive into what those struggles are like, but you're doing it in a really fun fictional way where you're being drawn into this fictional war. You're experiencing this through the eyes of a female operative, which I think is really unique. And so I wanted my readers to really be able to dive into that and lose themselves in this fiction and not get caught up in, is it this war or is it this time or whatever. So I just created a completely different new set of circumstances, but not something that was hard to believe. So in my book, The Syndicate Spy, oil reserves have been depleted and terrorists are kind of launching terrorist attacks at these alternative energy sites. So it's not something that's so far out there, we can't imagine it, right? Like energy is a big issue for us right now. And what would happen, if the oil reserves, were all dried up, what would we do? So it explores some interesting questions there, I think.
Yeah, it sure does. You did an amazing job of balancing all of those too. So
good.
The Syndicate Spy is a Juliet Arroway novel, which leads me to believe Juliet Arroway is going on. So
yes,
I'm hoping you're going to tell me there's a second.
Yes, absolutely. There's a second book in the works. The title right now is The Winter Spy. I don't know if that will change or not. As we all know, that it can change sometimes during the publication process, but I'm so excited because that book is going to focus on what does the world look like with a woman in power in the Middle East, and what is she going to be up against and trying to maintain power. And I just have had so much fun writing that novel because it really centers on an issue that I'm really passionate about, which is women's rights in the Middle East.
Oh.
And I've been involved in that kind of fight since my last account at CIA was the Afghanistan-Pakistan department. And there I encountered what happens to women underneath the rule of the Taliban. And so when I left the CIA, I really wanted to do something to help further women's rights. And I feel like literature is like one of those ways, right? Like I do some volunteer work and stuff. I work for an organization, wonderful organization called Women for Afghan Women. But I thought, through literature, through my book, I can get out a lot of the ideas that I was exposed to whenever I was working, for the CIA in the Middle East, and about, just how powerful those women are, how resilient they are, despite all of the civil war and political unrest that they've encountered, that they still, are very powerful women and they don't want to be victimized. And I wanted to showcase their story and their strength. And my second book allows me to do that. And I'm so excited to get it out soon. And I'll be sharing updates about that. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. I'm at former spy, the number 1. And there I talk all about my experiences at the CIA, what it was like to be a female in intelligence. And then I'll share updates when I have them about the next book in the series.
Oh my
Right.
gosh.
I love following on Instagram. I love all the stuff that you put out. So, and
Yay!
then something else, you mentioned that readers can now find you. That
Yes,
you
yes.
friends or
Yes. So I'm so excited about this. Me and 2 other former CIA operatives. One actually used to be my boss at the CIA. All 3 of us were in the director of operations of running sources abroad, lots of experience abroad. We analyze current events. We talk about how we got recruited by the CIA. You can find us, Spy Girls is the name of the podcast, and you can find it on all the different social media platforms as well as YouTube. and Spotify. So yeah, really excited about what's to
Cool.
come on that.
Super cool venture there. I love that. Okay, so Brittany, we end every 10-minute book talk with this final question. What is
Okay.
bringing you joy today?
So I am researching actually a new genre of book right now. It's a romance fantasy, and that is like my guilty pleasure is to read those books. And so I have been encouraged to explore it, and I am just loving it. Like I've nosedived into this world. My second novel is done on the Juliet Airway series, and I'll continue with that if my readers would like. I definitely have so many ideas for that series, but I'm excited about this new genre, kind of diving into romance fantasy and seeing where that takes me.
Love it. That's awesome. That is
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, readers, here's the book once again, The Syndicate Spy by Brittany Butler. Go out and grab it, and there will be another Juliet Airway novel, as you've just heard. And Brittany, thank you so much for being here today. We have
Gosh.
loved chatting with you.
Thank you. This has been such a pleasure.
Great to meet you.
Great to meet you
everybody.
all.
We will see you next week for more 10-minute book talk with another author. See you later. Bye-bye.